I'm glad you're here at Beyond 60 Stories, where every life has a story to tell. Let me ask you something quietly, the way life often does when no one else is listening. Have you ever found yourself watching a man and wondering, not out loud but somewhere deeper, whether his attention was real or simply courteous? You replay the conversations in your mind, notice how his voice changes, read between the lines of the messages he sends, and somehow you end up standing in two places at once, hopeful yet unsure. That quiet uncertainty lives in many hearts, especially in love after 60, when sincerity matters more than excitement, and emotional truth matters more than charm. What few people ever say is that emotional attachment doesn't happen by accident. It isn't created by smooth words or surface chemistry alone. It grows slowly, shaped by moments where a man feels seen, respected, and emotionally safe. At this stage of life, men rarely rush to name their feelings. They don't always explain what's happening inside them, but long before they speak it, their behavior begins to reveal it. There is a subtle shift, easy to overlook, yet impossible to fake. When a man reaches this point, he's no longer just enjoying your presence. He's already connected in a way that quietly changes everything. In this conversation, I want to explore that hidden side of connection, the part no movie or typical advice ever truly captures. If reflections like this feel familiar, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to Beyond 60 Stories. It helps keep these conversations alive, and it reminds others they're not walking this path alone. So let's begin with the first small sign, the one that often appears before anything else. Thing 1, he moves toward you without being pushed. Something quietly changes the moment a man stops waiting to be invited into your life. You don't notice it all at once. There's no announcement, no dramatic confession. But one day you realize he's simply there, not hovering, not chasing, just naturally woven into the rhythm of your days. When a man is only curious, he hesitates, he watches, he waits for signs, for permission, for reassurance that he won't be misunderstood or rejected. But when emotional investment takes root, that hesitation fades. He moves toward you without being pushed, not because he wants to impress, but because being close feels right to his nervous system. His presence begins to show up in small, ordinary ways that don't demand attention, yet slowly become consistent. You may notice he reaches out without a reason attached. He remembers things you mentioned once, casually, as if they mattered enough to store somewhere inside him. Plans that once stood alone begin to include you without discussion, not as a performance but as an assumption. This is not strategy, it's not charm. It's a quiet reorganization of his inner world, where you now occupy a stable place. In love after 60. This matters deeply. Many of us were taught to look for intensity, for effort that proves something, but dating after 60 asks for a different kind of attention. Emotional maturity reveals itself through ease, not pursuit. When a man moves toward you without being pushed, it's often because your presence offers him something rare at this stage of life: emotional calm. I quote, "They learned that this kind of movement isn't about excitement, it's about regulation around you." His mind settles, his heart doesn't brace itself. He doesn't feel the need to impress or defend. He simply feels more like himself. And once that happens, life has a way of opening the door to something even quieter and even more revealing. Thing 2, our calm regulates his nervous system. After a man begins to move toward you without being pushed, something even more subtle starts to happen beneath the surface. It doesn't show up in words or gestures you can point to easily. It shows up in his body, in his breath, in the way the air between you feels less tense than it used to. Around you, his shoulders soften, his voice loses its edge, conversations slow down without effort. This isn't because you are doing something special or saying the right things. It's because your presence itself carries a steadiness that his nervous system recognizes as safe in love after 60. This kind of safety is far more powerful than excitement. Many people mistake attraction for intensity, but relationship psychology teaches us something quieter. As we age, the body no longer seeks stimulation first, it seeks regulation. A man who feels emotionally connected begins to settle when he's near you, not because you fix his problems, but because you don't add pressure to his inner world. Your calm becomes a place his mind can rest. This is where attraction quietly turns into attachment. The shift from wanting to be entertained to wanting to be held emotionally, even in silence. In dating after 60, this is one of the clearest true love signs, because it cannot be forced or performed. It happens only when trust is forming at a nervous system level. I come to believe that this is the essence of emotional intelligence later in life. Not solving, not advising, not managing feelings, but allowing space for another person to simply be. When a man chooses to linger in that space with you, he's telling you something important without saying a word. Let me ask you something, and I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever noticed how certain people calm you just by being near, without trying to help or fix anything? And as we stay with that feeling of safety and ease, another sign begins to appear, one that requires even more trust from him. Thing 3, he shows you his imperfections. A man doesn't reveal his weaknesses to someone he's merely interested in. He reveals them only when he no longer feels the need to perform. That moment when he stops trying to look strong, confident, or put together in front of you is often the clearest sign that something real has begun. In the early stages, many men keep their armor firmly in place. They talk about accomplishments, routines, and things that feel safe to share. But when emotional attachment grows, something shifts inside them. They begin to let you see the unfinished parts, the worries they carry quietly, the memories they don't usually name out loud. Not to seek comfort, not to be reassured, simply because with you they don't feel judged for being human. I once watched this happen between two people I knew well. He was a man who had always been composed, reliable, and admired for his steadiness. One evening, without warning, he spoke about a fear he'd carried since his younger years, a sense that he had failed someone he loved long ago. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't ask for advice. He just said it, and then sat in the silence. What struck me wasn't the story itself, but how naturally it came out in her presence, as if his body finally believed it was safe to let go. In love after 60, this kind of openness is rare and meaningful. It reflects emotional maturity, the willingness to be seen without guarantees. When a man shows you his imperfections, he's not lowering his value. He's trusting you with the truth of who he is. And this is where many people misunderstand love. They think connection is built on compatibility alone, but often it's built on shared vulnerability, on being allowed to rest from strength. So here's the quiet question to carry forward. What if some of what you've learned about love was only partially true, and the next moment helps you see the difference more clearly? Think full. He pulls back briefly, then returns softer. Not every step toward love moves in a straight line. Sometimes, just when closeness begins to feel real, a man slows down, he speaks less, he seems more inward. To someone who has known disappointment, this moment can feel unsettling, like something precious is slipping away. But often it's not distance. It's processing. When emotional connection deepens, especially in love after 60, many men instinctively pause, not to test you, not to play games, but to check in with themselves. Their inner world asks quiet questions about safety, attachment, and vulnerability. Pulling back briefly becomes a way to regain emotional balance before stepping forward again. What matters most in this moment is not what he does, but how you respond. When you remain steady, calm, and self-anchored, you send a message without words. You show him that closeness does not require pressure, that connection doesn't collapse without constant reassurance. And when that happens, he often returns with a softer energy, more open, more trusting, more present than before. This pattern is deeply tied to relationship psychology and how men fall in love later in life. Mature love doesn't rush forward blindly, it learns to breathe. A man who comes back gentler is showing you that his emotional armor is loosening, not tightening. I want to ask you something, and if it feels right, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever noticed how giving someone emotional space can sometimes bring them closer than holding on tightly ever could? And this is where many people stop looking too soon, because this moment is only part of the story. What truly decides everything lies in what comes next. Are you ready to see it? Thing 5A mirrors your energy and rhythm. Something revealing happens when a man no longer leads or follows, but begins to move with you. His pace adjusts, his tone softens or steadies to match yours. Without realizing it, his body starts listening before his mind ever does. This mirroring isn't imitation, and it certainly isn't strategy. It's an unconscious response rooted in attraction psychology and relationship psychology, where two nervous systems begin to sync. When you slow down, he slows down. When you speak gently, his voice follows. When you stay grounded, his energy settles. This is not about effort, it's about resonance. In love after 60. This sign is especially meaningful. At this stage of life, people no longer want to perform roles or chase excitement. They want coherence. Emotional maturity shows up when someone unconsciously aligns with the emotional climate you create, not because they're trying to please you, but because being in rhythm with you feels natural and regulating. I quote, "They come to see this as one of the clearest true love signs. When a man mirrors your emotional pace, he's saying without words, I feel safe here." His nervous system recognizes yours as familiar, steady, and worth staying close to. This is how emotional connection deepens quietly without demands or declarations. And once this rhythm forms, once two energies begin to move together, something even more intimate starts to happen. Something you can see not in words or actions, but in the smallest changes of his body and presence. Think it now, his emotional armor softens around you. A man does not decide to soften, it happens before he knows it's happening. One day, without effort or intention, the tension he has carried for years begins to loosen when he's with you. Not dramatically, quietly, almost invisibly. You may notice it in the smallest shifts. His jaw no longer tightens when he speaks, his shoulders rest instead of bracing. His gaze stays a little longer, not searching, not guarded. His voice warms in a way that isn't practiced. These are not gestures meant to impress. They are signals from a nervous system that no longer feels the need to defend itself. In love after 60. This softening carries deep meaning. Life has taught most men to protect themselves emotionally. Experience builds armor. Responsibility reinforces it. Loss thickens it. Emotional maturity is not the absence of armor, but the rare willingness to set it down in the presence of someone who feels safe. There is an old idea found across many philosophies. What is truly strong does not need to prove itself. Lao Tzu wrote that water is soft, yet nothing can resist it. In the same way, when a man's emotional armor dissolves around you, it is not weakness, it is trust. It is his body acknowledging that vigilance is no longer required. This is one of the quiet truths in relationship psychology that often goes unnoticed. Words can lie, intentions can waver, but the body cannot pretend to relax. When his emotional defenses soften in your presence, his system is telling the truth before his mind ever catches up. And when that truth settles in, the relationship begins to shift again, away from emotion alone, and towards something more enduring. He accepts the connection, not his ego. What happens when winning an argument no longer feels as important as keeping the connection intact? That quiet shift says more about love than any declaration ever could. At a certain point, something inside a man begins to rearrange itself. He stops reacting just to defend his pride. He chooses his words more carefully, not out of fear but out of care. He becomes sensitive to how moments land on you, how silence feels between you, how small tensions can either widen or soften the space you share. In love after 60. This choice carries profound weight. Life has already taught both people how easy it is to be right and still be alone. Emotional maturity shows itself when a man values the bond more than his need to dominate a moment. Disagreements don't disappear, but the tone changes. He avoids unnecessary conflict. He leans toward kindness instead of control. His language slowly shifts from I to we, not as a tactic but as a natural expression of shared ground. This is one of the deepest truths in relationship psychology. Ego seeks protection, love seeks continuity. When a man protects the connection, he is no longer relating from fear or self-defense. He is relating from commitment to emotional safety, for himself and for you. At this stage of life, that choice is not accidental. It is conscious. There is an old philosophical idea echoed across cultures. Real power lies in restraint. Strength is not proven by force, but by the ability to hold something gently without breaking it. When a man begins to guard the relationship rather than his image, love stops being just a feeling. It becomes a place of return. Love after 60 rarely arrives with fireworks anymore. It doesn't need to. It no longer tries to impress, to overwhelm, or to promise the impossible. What it offers instead is something quieter and far more meaningful. It shows up as softening, as synchronization, as the willingness to return after fear rather than disappear because of it. When a man relaxes around you, adjusts his rhythm to yours, and chooses your presence not for excitement but for peace, something important has already been decided inside him. At this stage of life, love is not proven by grand gestures or dramatic words. It's revealed through calm consistency, emotional safety, and the ease of being together without performance. When those signs are present, you don't need to ask whether he loves you. His heart has already answered in the only language that truly matters. If this reflection resonated with you, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to Beyond 60 Stories. It helps keep these quiet conversations alive and reminds us that love, at any age, can still feel like coming home. Until next time, take gentle care of your heart.